Good morning. Got your coffee? I got mine. So listen, I know y'all really get tired of me talking shit about TikTok, but I swear to God, you know, I, I hate this app. And I won't be able to apply for monetization over here on YouTube until the 5th of September. And I told you how not YouTube, but TikTok didn't pay me last month over some like really incredibly just dumb shit. So because they didn't pay me, I had to keep messaging back and forth with them. And because they didn't pay me, they're not going to pay me until the 15th of next month. And then, the thing has reset, what they pay their creators, the creator fund. So now your views are back down to being slowed and everything. So unless your people look for you, you're not on the For You page. And if you're not on the For You page, you're not getting views. And if you're not getting views, you don't make any money. And they're just so, but it's not surprising. Black people really do drive that app. We really do drive that app. And it's the fact that they just don't want to pay Black creativity. But then the Asians own it. The Asian people own TikTok, and the Asians are the model minority. And if the model minority is not playing, if they're not playing their part in the game, in the social hierarchy, in the caste system, by oppressing everyone up underneath them for the benefit of the patriarchy, then so it's not surprising, but it's incredibly frustrating. And thank you for allowing me to vent this morning. With that being said, okay, that's not even really what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about when we as Black people, when we think about Black women, this is what I want to talk about. Black women who were enslaved. When you put that picture in your mind, because I'm asking you to take a deep breath and think about that. Let's slow down a little bit. When you think about Black women who were enslaved. Now, I don't know what comes to your mind. Maybe you'll let me know down in the comments. But what comes to my mind is a Black woman who looks much like myself. Someone who is always doing the most the big part of the work. Someone who is taking care of her babies and white babies, acting as a wet nurse, a cook. She in the fields when need be. She cleaning the house when she need be. She's doing everything around that plantation that needs to be done. I feel like the most work, the most responsibility was put on those Black women. And that's why so many of them died before their 40th birthday, because they were worked to death. My great-grandmother, who I knew, she was only one generation removed from slavery. And so my grandmother, because they want us to think that slavery it was something that happened so long ago. And it did not. It did not. And the effects from slavery is still ongoing. And not only that, but those ideologies are still ongoing. A lot of those belief systems, because look, don't everybody who's not Black still think that Black people are supposed to be subservient and we're supposed to be in service to them, and willingly so? I think that when slavery ended for Black women were just happy to be able to do those things in their own homes. Cook and clean and take care of their own children, their own families, grow their own food, labor for the benefit of their own families. But, and this is going to be hard to hear, I don't think, and if your family was different, I don't need you to tell me that, okay? I'm just talking in general terms. I'm not talking about you and your family specifically. I wish people would not do that, But a lot of families really didn't appreciate how hard Black women labored for them and how much Black women actually gave up. My grandmother had nothing less than 12 kids. At the end of her days, only one of those kids was capable of providing care for her, a home for her when she couldn't take care of her own home. Only one. And it definitely was not my grandmother's favorite child, which was the youngest boy child. Definitely wasn't him. It was, of course, one of her girl children. Because aren't the girls, black girls, aren't we kind of trained from day one and conditioned to take care of everyone except our own selves? And I don't know if you know, but there's a viral video going on over on TikTok about this mother. She kicked her 17-year-old daughter out because she wouldn't cook for her 20-year-old son. And mind you, the 20-year-old son had both arms, both hands, both legs. And I think he was sitting on the couch like playing a Game Boy or something like that. And that is so typical how we train the black girl children to be in service. And so black girl children are expected to sacrifice, like in the days of my grandmother, so much for their families, their husbands, and their communities. We are expected to marry some man that may or may not appreciate us, will probably cheat on us, will probably mentally, emotionally, psychologically abuse us, or physically abuse us on some level. There's another young lady over on TikTok went viral saying that God doesn't want women to leave their men just for cheating on them. And black women are getting away from that narrative, because we have been cast in the role of the mammy, the caretakers, the caregivers. And even when we don't even have a man in the house, we are still expected to be that anyway. So which brings me to my point, when a woman like Tracy Ellis Ross, who is unmarried, in her 50s, no children, no grandchildren, hydrated, moisturized, rich, beautiful, and she's on the internet taking sexy pics, of course she's going to be attacked. Because those ideologies from slavery and transatlantic slavery carry on even to this day. Not just the ideologies that white people and non-black people have, but the ideologies that those ideologies that black people have internalized, to where we think the grandmamas are supposed to do all the laboring. I can remember my grandmother. Remember, I told you how many kids she had. So think about how many grandkids, how many of us it was. I don't know how many first cousins alone I have, but it is a massive amount of them. And we're not even talking seconds and thirds with all those kids. And I can remember my grandmother every holiday just laboring and laboring and laboring, cleaning bucket after bucket after bucket of chitlins. And if you don't eat chitlins, I don't need to hear about it. Cleaning sink after sink after sink of greens. Just pot after pot after pot of food. Pie, one sweet potato pie after sweet potato pie, just banana pudding after banana pudding. And just, and don't get me wrong, some of my aunties would, come in and help from time to time, but not enough to take off the bulk of that work from her. That woman died tired and old and overworked and undervalued and underappreciated. And that's just the truth. That's just the truth. I can remember her. She had this big old house, threadbare carpeting, all those kids. Never had new carpeting. Never had new curtains. Never had a vacuum cleaner. She swept that floor, and she was a poor woman. She swept that floor with the straw broom every single morning. Every single morning. And out of all those kids, they like couldn't collectively get together to buy this woman a vacuum cleaner. That's what is expected of black women. So when black women push back against that and we say we can be more than that, we are not going to play the role that society has cast us in. And no, we don't want to deal with problematic men. And no, we don't want to have a bunch of ungrateful fucking kids. And no, we don't want to be nobody's grandmama. We don't want to, provide free babysitting services and raise your kids when you can't. So you can go to the club and so that you can go make more of them. We want to live our lives. Because, look, if we're going to evolve, then that means that all ideologies got to evolve. And part of that means that black women get to self-center. And we get to live the lives that we want to live. And we get to participate in a system that doesn't want us there. That's why they dragging Tracy Ellis Ross right now. Because she not playing her role. By this time, she should have some adult kids and some grandkids. And her paycheck, her money, should be benefiting somebody else. Like them grandkids or her kids. Or some man that don't appreciate her. That's cheating on her every time she turn her back. Or lying to her every time his mouth open. If black women are not suffering, then somehow we a problem. Black women can't have easy. Black women can't self-center. Black women are not entitled to live our lives solely for ourselves. And as black people, because it's black people that's mostly dragging her. Y'all have to understand that you too have the ability to curate your life the way that you want to curate it. And nobody, not your mama, not your grandma, not your auntie, not your sister, not your cousin, it is not their jobs to exist to make your life easier. Cook for yourself. Clean for yourself. How about maybe don't have more children than you can afford if you can't afford daycare or your apartment or to travel or to go to brunch with your girlfriends or hair weave or nails or whatever it is you can't afford this week or this month. Maybe concentrate on yourselves. Maybe leave these bum men alone and give them time to get their shit together. Because unfortunately right now, the highest demographic of homelessness right now are black men. So maybe get yourself together. Let them get themselves together so y'all can actually be assets to your community. Stop bringing kids here that we can't raise, that we can't provide for in an increasingly expensive America. Because shit ain't what it was 30, 40, or even 20 years ago. We have to adjust for this new reality. And the things that the way your mother lived ain't the way you live, it ain't the way your mama lived. And the way your mama lived, it ain't the way your grandmama lived. And, we can't pass down all of that. And we can't put all of that on the shoulders of black women. If we are going to be a community and if we're going to move the community forward, that's going to take all hands on deck. It's got to be a sharing of the work evenly. And Black women deciding that they don't want to die for ungrateful family members and ungrateful community members is allowed. Black women are allowed to exist. We have full autonomy over ourselves. And if we don't want to be worked to death by people who don't appreciate us any more than people who owned enslaved Black women and Black people, it is allowed. It is allowed. Y'all need to really sit down and think about the workload that y'all are asking Black women in the community to take on for your benefit. It's just, in a lot of ways, a different form of slavery. Now, it's different if that's the role your mama and your aunties want to play and your grandmas want to play. That's a different thing. But trying to force them into those roles, and then when they reject those roles, shaming them because you are not allowed to benefit from their labor, free labor, it's just slavery revisited, and shame on you. If you would like to support my platform, I will put my Venmo and my Cash App down in the comments like always. I thank you so much for listening to me today, and y'all have a great day. And respect the Black women in your community. And not only that, but we are not perfect. Let's all show each other some grace. Because I think my generation, Generation X, is the first generation that is waking up and rejecting a lot of the roles that we have been forced to play for society, for our families, for everyone except ourselves. We are the first generation that are trying to heal from childhood trauma. And we are the first generation that is actually going to therapy. And we are the first generation that is truly minding our business. And we are the first generation that is saying that we don't have to be everybody's mammy. And we are the first generation to ask our community to please get on board with that, learn from it, and stop making decisions for your life, your young life, that's going to tie you to people and things that 20 or 30 years you are going to regret. Have a good one.